I have returned, Sabrina croaked. The dark room was creating a very believable nightmare. Crane scurried around the room, hiding behind desks and chairs the best he could. Crane, you cannot hide from me. I am the Headless Horseman. I see all. The deputy screamed and continued to crawl, but Coppet hunted him slowly around the room. I'm a I'm a law enforcement officer now, Crane shouted, trying to muster all his courage. A defender of the peace. I can arrest you for riding a horse without a head. That's a serious crime in this town, he cried. Your laws mean nothing to me. I've come for something, Crane, and I will have it, Sabrina bellowed. What do you want? The deputy cried. Your head, Sabrina groaned. Crane burst into tears. No, please, not my head, he begged. Very well, if not your head, I'll take something else. Anything, whatever you want. I want the keys to the jail. Crane was silent for several moments. Why do you want the keys? Would you prefer I take your head instead? Sabrina moaned, just as an unlucky bounce on the carpet knocked Daphne off Elvis's back. The sound couldn't have been more appropriate, but Daphne was down for the count. Unable to see, she flailed in her costume, causing more commotion and sending a computer crashing to the floor. Crane, who seemed to think this was part of the headless horseman's attack, shouted, Here, the keys, and tossed them at Daphne's feet. Now go, or I will change my mind, Sabrina said. Crane leaped to his feet and ran, not noticing Sabrina as he rushed out the station door. Once she was sure he was gone, Sabrina stood up and turned on the lights. Daphne was still rolling around, unable to see anything. Get me out of this, the little girl cried. Sabrina unhooked the top buttons and Daphne's head popped out. Elvis, who had stepped off the carpet, was ready with a lick to her face. You were very convincing, Sabrina laughed as she helped her sister to her feet. Daphne reached down and scooped up the keys. Let's get him out of here. Sabrina rolled up the carpet, flung it over her shoulder, and the two girls raced to find Jack's cell. Down a long hallway at the back of the building were two jail cells. The one on the left was empty, but the one on the right held Jack. He stood with his arms reaching through the bars as the girls entered the room. Give me keys, he pleaded, but before they could, Elvis lunged angrily at the cell. Growling and barking wildly, the big dog sniffed and snarled at Jack. Elvis, it's okay. He's a friend, Daphne said. She seemed to calm the dog down, but still his nose was sniffing and at full alarm. Sabrina handed Jack the keys and he sorted through them. Colgan, I told you it would work, he bragged. He found the right key, stuck it in the lock, and turned it from inside. The door clicked and he pushed it open. Crane ran like he'd seen the devil himself, Sabrina said proudly. I've seen the devil, and you are not him, a voice said from down the hallway. Sabrina turned and found Deputy Crane standing in the doorway, blocking the exit. He was so angry he was shaking. Listen, Crane, just let us pass, and no one will get hurt, Jack said. Get back in your cell, Jack, the deputy ordered, pulling his billy club from its strap and swinging it threateningly. Sorry, Edgy. I wish I could help you, but I've just been hired for a rescue mission. Now, are you going to let us pass, or are we going to have to get rough? Jack threatened. Daphne grabbed his undershirt and yanked on it. You promised no one gets hurt. Jack scowled. I wouldn't hurt him badly, he said. Do your worst, Crane stammered as he backed up a step. Crane, I mean it. I'm not staying in this jail. Bring it on, you washed-up has-been. Jack laughed. That's what I am, a washed-up has-been. I'd watch what you say, Itchy. Things can change in the blink of an eye. Not in Fairyport Landing, Jack. The two stared at each other for a long time. Sabrina could almost feel the heat and rage in their eyes. "Carpet, let's wrap this up," Jack commanded, and the carpet lifted off Sabrina's shoulder. It darted down the hallway and, like an anaconda, wrapped Crane inside it. He fumbled and fought, but couldn't break free. Jack walked over to the rug and patted it lightly. "Nothing personal, Itchy, but destiny awaits," he said. He grabbed an end of the carpet and pulled it roughly, causing Crane to spin away like a top. After several rotations, the skinny man collapsed to the floor, overcome by dizziness. Jack set the carpet on the floor and stepped onto it. "All right, ladies," he said as he extended his hand to help the girls onto the rug. Elvis rushed to join them and stood like a guard between the girls and Jack. "Carpet up," Sabrina said, and it rose a few feet and sank, and sank slowly back down like a balloon with a hole in it. "Why aren't we going up?" Sabrina cried. "We must be too heavy," Jack groaned. "Can we lose the hound?" Elvis answered him with a threatening snarl. "Very well, Carpet, take us to the Grimm house." Though it was way down, Carpet didn't lack any of its speed. It zipped along 3 feet off the floor, down the hallway, through the main room, and out the front door of the police station. It sailed across the parking lot and made a left into the street, causing a pickup truck to screech to a stop. As they passed, the girls waved a friendly sorry gesture to the bewildered driver. "That was almost too easy," Jack said. But no sooner had he puffed out his chest than the sound of a police siren wailed in their eyes. A moment later, a police car turned the corner and raced in the group's direction. Ichabod Crane was behind the wheel. "Tenacious, isn't he?" Jack said. "Tenacious?" Daphne asked. "It means persistent," Sabrina said. "And what does persistent mean?" Daphne asked. "It means he's not going to give up." "And I wouldn't have it any other way," Jack assured them. "Carpet, faster!" Close behind, Crane turned on his squad car's flashing lights. "Is this the best idea?" Sabrina shouted, holding on to an end of the carpet as it sailed between cars and ran through a red light. "We're attracting a lot of attention." "It's about time this little bug saw some action," Jack cried out happily. "Fairyport Landing, you haven't seen anything yet." Sabrina heard a horrible crunching sound behind them and turned back to see what could have made such a loud noise. What she saw stole the breath from her lungs. The road behind them began to rise like a massive wave rolling in from the ocean. It was followed by another horrible crunching sound. "What's happening?" she cried as she watched the cars get tossed aside like toys. "Well, luck, ladies," Jack said. "We've already found our giants." Suddenly, a giant foot planted itself in the middle of Main Street. The impact caused windows in nearby businesses to shatter. The ground exploded and a gas main underneath the street burst, shooting flames high into the air. "But what do we do?" Daphne said. We have two choices: stand and fight and die a horrible, messy death, or run," Jack said. "Carpet, get us out of here!" Sabrina shouted, and the little rout jumped into speed. Unfortunately, the giant was not discouraged by how fast the group was making its getaway. A single stride put the monster right behind them, even when the rush increased its speed again. And with every step the big monster took, the pavement crumbled beneath him. Electrical wires snapped, spraying sparks everywhere. The few drivers on the road at that early hour lost control of their cars and crashed into buildings. Jack turned to see the chaos and a broad grin came to his face. "Finally, this is getting interesting," he laughed. The carpet took a sharp left turn, and Sabrina felt lucky that she hadn't tumbled off, when she noticed that Daphne was no longer sitting next to her. In fact, Daphne was hanging from the back of the carpet, hanging on desperately with both hands. "Jack!" Sabrina cried. The spiky-haired legend reached down and grabbed the little girl by the back of her sweatshirt and pulled her onto the carpet. Blimey, this is better than a roller coaster, Jack laughed as he set the girl safely on the carpet. Daphne hugged her sister. It was the first time Sabrina had ever felt her sister shake from fear. She didn't like it. "We're going to get ourselves killed," she shouted as the carpet narrowly missed being crushed by a delivery truck filled with chickens. "Nonsense, we can't die like this. We're immortal," Jack replied. "You're immortal, we're not. We have to get off this road," Sabrina demanded. "I see. Must be quite a pain to be a human, but the carpet picks the roots." Just then an 18-wheeler pulled directly into the path and stopped. "Carpet, up!" so everyone shouted. The carpet slowly rose, sputtering, as if it were a little train that couldn't. "We're not going to make it," Sabrina shouted. "Lie down flat," Jack commanded. "You can't mean what I think you mean." Jack nodded, and the two girls reluctantly laid on their backs. "Elvis, play dead," Daphne said. The dog lay on his side. The little girl turned a worried face to her sister. "He's not going to do what I think he is he?" Carpet down!" Jack shouted, and the carpet fell from the sky until it was literally skidding across the pavement. Its momentum carried the group underneath the truck to the other side and down the street. When they sat up again, the young man was already laughing until he looked up and saw the street cleaner barreling toward them. "Carpet up!" they all shouted, and the little rug struggled higher, narrowly missing the boiling hot water and sharp bristles the machine used to scour the street. The carpet continued to rise until it had cleared the vehicle. Sabrina sat up and turned around. Ichabod Crane was out of his car, angrily ordering the owners of the 18-wheeler and the street cleaner to move. Unfortunately, the traffic problems did little to stop the giant. Its monstrous foot soared high above the commotion and landed only yards from the carpet. "That thing is going to kill someone," Sabrina shouted. "Carpet, we have to get away from the main road." The carpet made an abrupt turn toward Veryport Landing's farm community. The giant followed closely behind, and the little rug dodged each deadly footfall. Several times the ugly brute reached out to squash the group in his hands, but each time the carpet zipped out of his reach. He grunted and roared at them, but eventually became exhausted by the chase and gave up, shaking his fist into the air and roaring with frustration. "Don't cry, big boy," Jack shouted to the giant as he disappeared behind them on the horizon. "You'll be seeing me again very soon." As the magic carpet coasted up the driveway, it was barely 6 inches off the ground and had lost all of its kick. When the group finally stepped off of it, the beautiful little rug dropped to the ground and rolled itself up, just as it had been delivered to the girls. Daphne leaned over and picked it up gingerly, the way one would a tired kitten, and cradled it in her arms. "Poor thing is all worn out," she said, cooing. Sabrina looked toward the forest. Hampstead's squad cars were still perched in the tall trees behind the house, but he and his men were nowhere to be seen. Reaching into her pocket, Sabrina removed Granny Rudder's enormous keyring and began the tedious job of unlocking all the bolts. Jack watched attentively until she had unlocked every one. Before Sabrina could say the magic words that gained them entrance, Daphne pulled her aside, cupped her hand over her big sister's ear, and whispered, "Should we let him in?" It was a fair question. Every time they had broken one of Granny Rhoda's rules, they had regretted it, but they were in a tough situation. Jack was probably the only person in the world who could confront a giant, and he had offered to help. "I don't think we have much of a choice," Sabrina whispered back. She made a fist and knocked on the door. "We're home." Jack cocked an eyebrow in confusion. "Family tradition," Sabrina said, in hopes of throwing him off. "Granny does it, and it makes Daphne laugh, so I picked it up too." Daphne